Hey, Phil from No Code Ops here, and today I'm joined by Colin Tubner, who is the Director of Customer Solutions at airSlate. Colin, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Phil.
So great to have you. Huge fan of airSlate and everything y'all have been up to. So to start, I'd just love for you to give us a brief overview of airSlate, and then walk us through a situation that someone would be in, like an ideal customer would be in to achieve an aha moment, just like the kind of setup. That would be awesome.
Sure. So airSlate is a no-code document process automation tool. And I think documents are really the key part and the most important thing in the kinds of processes that we tackle. And that includes generating documents from Word templates. It includes pulling in PDFs and floating fields on top of them. And it includes e-signature on documents. And all of that is combined together with the kinds of things you're used to in no-code tools like no-code integrations and setting up a workflow with multiple roles of people that can act on the documents.
Amazing. So one of my favorite things about, because I'm a total contract and like PDF nerd, you do provide like a layer, you can provide like a layer of abstraction over those PDFs that folks can like fill out forms via like a standard kind of like web form that works really well on mobile. And then, you know, it can like legally and compliantly fill out the forms on their behalf. Is like that part of the workflow that you guys do as well?
Yeah, exactly. There's several different kinds of documents, and an HTML form, you can sort of think of it as a document, but like you said, it looks nice on mobile. It's easy to work with on the web browser. You know, PDFs look like documents when they're on a computer, and so they can be a little more cumbersome to work with. And so just as you said, we can let the user work with an HTML form to capture all their details, validate that information as they enter it, and then populate the PDF for them. And then they just look at the document and sign it on the PDF, and that's it.
Amazing.
Then you also mentioned contracts. There's a contract negotiation module too, where the users can work with a document with, basically it's like Word with track changes on. And then once they're done negotiating, that turns into a PDF that can be routed for e-signature.
Amazing. So can you walk us through just like a situation that somebody would be in, that would lead them to an aha moment?
Yeah, my favorite example is employee onboarding and trying to set that process up. You know, the key thing with employee onboarding is it crosses a lot of different companies. Even within your own company, you've got different systems that need to be populated with data. Then you're filling out forms for your health insurance and your dental insurance and your life insurance, and those all go off to different companies. So it's often some PDF that needs to be filled out. It's not necessarily an electronic interface to those other companies. And so airSlate's perfect for that kind of process. And not to mention IRS forms too. Those are PDFs that need to be filled out during employee onboarding.
Oh, the joys of filling out a W-2.
Yeah, so you know, people have been through employee onboarding and they spend their first 2 days of work filling out the same information over and over again on different papers. And that's the kind of thing that we can really easily and quickly automate with no code.
Amazing. So can you just let's share your screen and let's like dive into the product and show us what that would look like for somebody hands-on?
Yeah, definitely.
Great.
Just get this going here. So we're just going to dive right into airSlate here.
Great.
And let me make this a little bigger. So I'm in my workspace dashboard. You know, the two terms I like to make sure we define up front are flow, which I bet your viewers are mostly familiar with the idea of a workflow. So that's the path that the documents are going to follow. And then slates, just like our company name. Slate is a package of documents that are going to follow the steps in the flow. And sometimes it's just one document, but often it's several. We do have a flow library, but to really show off the flow creator, I'm going to just create one from scratch here. Right. And so here we see some of the document types that we talked about before. So in addition to the form, which we'll use here, there's the ability to generate a document. This is, you can think of it like a Microsoft Word mail merge a little bit, but we can in fact generate tables and looping sections of the document. There's contracts, which we mentioned. There's also a spreadsheet. So if you want to do some calculations and formulas during your process, you can do that there. And then this add documents here, that's your typical e-signature PDF kind of flow. So we're going to combine the form with this e-signature PDF. I'm going to start with former survey, and we'll just do a blank one. So I'll just throw just a couple of fields on here to keep it quick. So
Right.
what we're going to do in this process, I mentioned employee onboarding. So manager will enter the employee's name and email address. We'll use that to populate the W-4 and send it to the employee for signature. Obviously, if you were to build this out, you'd have numerous forms and more information than just their name, but you get the idea how this would scale to the complete process.
And do you have validations on these fields as well, like regular expressions?
There are validations. There's not regular expressions. I guess I don't think there are.
Got it. But you can make sure like an email is an email, a phone number is a phone number.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so in this case, just the fact that I dragged the email on there will do that.
Right.
Like number, phone, and then there's different formats in each of those formatted ones.
Right. So at this point, we're looking pretty much like a standard drag and drop form creation.
Exactly. Yeah, this component is pretty standard, to the industry of creating forms.
Great.
We do have some more, advanced like tables and stuff like that, which we won't have to get into today.
Okay.
So then, here's what I hope is the aha moment is when I just drag a PDF file in here and drop it on there. That's the IRS's W-4 form. It's already got PDF fillable fields on it. So when I hit edit, those fields will show up in our PDF editor. And I can also use this. I can actually edit the PDF itself. So if I wanted to add some text to the PDF, I can do that, and that'll become part of the PDF later. And then we can also add fields. So most of our fields are already on here. I'm just going to add a signature field. And what I'm going to do is just make sure that the first and last name don't have these IRS code names, but instead useful names.
Yep.
And just as with the HTML form, we have a variety of formatted fields that will apply validations to what's being entered.
Great. And do you have conditional logic on your forms, like if this, then that, like skip logic and all that stuff?
We do, yeah. So you can show and hide fields or disable them, enable them. There's actually a little more on the HTML than there is on the PDF.
Yeah, I was thinking on the HTML side because I just like the classic example, right, is independent contractors who fill out like the CS or P wrong with like if you're an LLC or you a CS or P, do you need to mark that field like that type of stuff?
Yeah, so we can take a look at that real quick. Going back to this, so there's a whole conditional logic element, and you can show and hide or enable and disable fields.
Awesome.
Using the conditional part there.
Awesome.
So that's the basic document package of our process, and so then we'll get into workflow, and we'll just do a simple two-step workflow here. You can add branches and more complicated logic, but just to kind of keep it quick, we'll just make this really simple. So we have a manager.
While you're filling this out, like I'm assuming branches, like if in question A they said choice 1, then send this route. If 2, send this route. Yeah. Exactly,
and also potentially in parallel, having multiple paths that trigger through the branch.
Amazing.
So let's start by setting up the manager here. Manager will get the document first, so we don't need to specify the assignee. It's going to be automatically kind of applied. And they're not going to see the W-4. They're just going to see the employee name field. The W-4 will be filled out for the employee automatically. So the W-4, I'm just going to say hide document for the manager.
Okay.
And on the employee name HTML form, we are going to assign them all the fields. And then let's just say, for the sake of argument, we don't want the manager to be able to access this W-4 that has the employee's social security number, et cetera, on it. Yep. So we can we can make sure that they can.
This is great. Yeah. I can't tell you like how many times at companies, like, whether they've requested a W-9 from me or something, I'm like, this is ending up in a Dropbox.
Right, exactly. Yeah, everybody's going to be able to look at this forever, basically.
Yeah.
So employee reverse, they don't need to see this HTML form. It's already been filled out with their name and email. They're just going to get the W-4, and here I can just make sure that they have the signature assigned to them. So they'll be required to fill out that required field at the time that they encounter this document. We won't revoke their access. And then here for the assignee, we set up both the email as well as who's going to get it. And so, of course, that's going to be the email that was entered on that first form. So we can grab that as a dynamic variable. There's document data as well as the flow data available here.
Incredible.
So we'll just go ahead and put the email there. And then I'll just change my language a little bit here. We'll say it's W4. And this recipient name should be the manager. So
essentially what's happening here, right, is when this workflow gets triggered, whether it's, and I'm assuming you have like an API that can get triggered through or Zapier or something like that.
There's a number of different ways to.
Even manually, I'm sure, or batch CSV upload. Like, so however it happens, it gets triggered. The manager then gets it, fills out the name. It then goes to the employee. Now, is the employee looking at the web form as well, or is the employee looking at the document itself?
You could certainly set it up either way, but the way I'm setting it up, the employee will just skip right past that HTML form, which has already been filled out by the manager, and they'll see the W4. They'll be able to correct their name on the W4 if they need to.
Got it.
It'll be editable, so it'll be an editable PDF when they get it, and they fill it out and then sign it.
Amazing.
So last step is bots, and this is another a little bit of a unique way that airSlate handles integration, where we have bots. You set it up once, and it may apply to multiple steps or multiple revisions of the process. And so we're going to do two here. One will be to add the name and email to a Google Sheet, and the other one will be to just simply copy the name and email from the first form to the second. Or actually, it'll just be the name. There's no spot for the email in the W4. So huge number of bots. We have over 100 bots in our library. Many of them are specific to integrations, but many of them are also simply kind of internal sort of things, either this doc-to-doc prefill, which we'll use, email notifications, reminders, webhooks, access control, changing who has access to something, deleting slates if they're old or, they're in error or something like that. So bots are used both for the internal automation as well as interacting with other systems.
Awesome.
So we'll go ahead and set up this one, which is simply going to copy the data from the employee name, which is the HTML form. Say we want first name and last name, to the PDF W4. And because I named those fields the same thing, airSlate just maps it.
Oh, wow, that's great.
Yeah. And then for execution conditions, I'm just going to make sure that this only happens once the employee name has actually been filled out. So we're going to just make sure those fields aren't empty.
Oh, wow, this is powerful, man.
And then, as I was saying, you can have a bot that runs every revision. So if potentially we were going to show the employee that HTML form and let them correct their information, we would want this bot to run again. And so you can have it run each revision.
So it can rewrite if they updated something.
Exactly, yeah. But in this case, we only need it to run once after the manager fills things out the first time.
And then I'm assuming the reason you put signature on the form itself is because, like e-signature law, right? Like the person signing that PDF actually has to see the full out PDF before signing it. Yeah.
Exactly right. And we actually can place signatures on HTML forms too. But in general, the signature applies to the document you're working with or looking at, and so we make sure that they're signing in the right place.
Yep, very cool.
Export to Google Sheet bots. That's the other one, and this is just going to take the name and email and throw it in a Google Sheet.
Very cool.
So I'm already connected to my Google account here, but that's just a quick OAuth setup that if you've ever given any app access to your Google account, it works the same way. And then we'll just grab.
You don't need you don't even need Zapier to do this part. You just
we do have an integration to Zapier to kick things off, but yeah, I think once you're in an airSlate flow, you really don't need Zapier for most integration tests. We've got our own bots for that.
Amazing. Very cool.
Employee name. So I'm just going to take the first name, last name, and email.
Yeah.
And we're going to throw that in the spreadsheet. I guess one of them's got this. So email have the same name. These guys have a space, so I need to map them manually. So these are the spreadsheet columns that are coming from the spreadsheet. And actually, I'll just open that spreadsheet up so we can see it. So we should get a line 9 here after I run the process.
Okay.
All right. So this one, again, is going to run only after the form is signed, actually. So say once it's signed, that's going to run. So that's it. And then at this point, I can click done, and it's going to ask me how I want to start this flow. So you can manually start it. You can actually upload a CSV and send the flow to a bunch of people at once, or we can share a link, and that's what I'm going to do here. So we'll turn on the link. As it says, because the manager is the first step, when somebody runs this link, they're going to get sent to, they're basically going to become a manager. So that's turned on, and then let me actually share my whole screen here. I need to open that up in an incognito window. So
you're all good.
I'm not the admin.
I love that you have like kiosk mode essentially.
Yeah, exactly. So the link just, anybody can open that link and they get the form, and they don't really get access to the flow or the system or anything like that. So it's great for, doctors who are onboarding new patients or
waiting rooms. All
yeah,
that.
Exactly. My last name will be line 9 and match the spreadsheet name we're going to get. And okay, so that's it for that. That's, again, the manager just filling out the employee's basic details. So in a moment, I will get an email asking me to fill out the W-4 form.
Okay. And then can you brand these as well?
Yeah, so this is airSlate branded, obviously, but you can replace your logo here. And then the Tubular 2, that's my workspace name. So that would be, whatever. When our customers create workspaces, they basically are getting a custom name here. So it might be, your doctor's office by airSlate or whatever it is. And then you saw me customize the email text as well. So we'll open that up in an incognito window. I should get the W-4. It should have my name on it, and then I'll be able to sign it. So scrolling up to the top, you can see my name is filled out here. Of course, I would fill out the rest of this PDF document as appropriate, and then I'm asked to sign. I've already signed with this email address before, so it has my signature.
Right.
We'll just complete it. And so then as that completes, we should see that populate here in the spreadsheet in just a second. And of course, you can do other integrations there too. I often set up that
there it is.
PDF itself goes into Google Drive. You get not only the PDF, but also a certificate of completion document that shows.
You have like the audit trail as well.
Yeah, it gives you the e-signature, it gives you the IP address of who signed, the timestamp of the signature, all that kind of stuff that goes along with e-signing.
Colin, this is awesome. I love this stuff, man. Especially because I'm also you want to stop presenting your screen maybe because I think we're double up. There we go. I'm like a total contract nerd, so this is great. Well, listen, thank you so much for showing us this. If people have questions about airSlate and want to reach out, what should they do?
Well, the thing I would encourage them to do first is just get started with the trial, which you can do from airslate.com. And, in the process of doing that, we will send you lots of resources. If you give us your email address, of course, we'll email you stuff that tells you all about the resources to learn about airSlate. My team at airSlate is available to help people get up and running. And then there's also airSlate Academy, which is a set of e-learning courses that will get people turned into airSlate wizards in the minimum amount of time.
Amazing. Well, dude, this was awesome. I really appreciate you taking the time. And and everyone who's watching this video in the future, like, subscribe, do all the bell thing, do all the YouTube things. Cool. All right. Thanks, man.
Thanks, Philip. Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you.